Hello.
Yeah, that's your name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass, and I see these deer moving. And I'm like, ooh, there's some deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a T-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the
275 pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
the Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like,
he's up there slapping, pissing all over everything.
Is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's right. I know.
Why did you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what Pertnear means.
If you know what Pertnear means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Thanks again for joining us. And this week, we've got a fun conversation with Jason Red of Timber Ninja Outdoors. Jason is the owner of Timber Ninja, and they're coming up with some pretty cool and innovative product. Their mainstay at this point is their climbing sticks. So you'll hear us talk a little bit about his climbing sticks. He's done a couple other podcasts of late, and they're really starting to get their name out there and get their product out there. And they just had a kind of a pre-sale launch, and it sounds like things are starting to rock and roll for them. So they've got some more inventory coming in to fill back orders and things of that nature. So we'll get into talking a little bit about his product and kind of the genesis and where that came from. But I stumbled across Jason, I think it was actually through Genesis 3D Printing through Austin. We had kind of started looking at his stuff with some of his 3D printed components for mobile hunting, and kind of stumbled across. He started doing some things for Timber Ninja, making some clips and for their steps. So pretty cool, kind of connecting with everybody. It's a really fun time right now in the outdoor, outdoor world, and in the mobile hunting world. In that, everybody's coming up with some really interesting products that are going to help make your setup lighter, make it quieter and more efficient. So very excited to share this conversation with you all. Really, the main game plan was not so much to talk a ton about the product. The product kind of speaks for itself. It's a very light, high quality climbing stick. So there's really only so much you can talk about with that. But I really wanted to get to know Jason a little bit. I'd heard him have a conversation with Bo Martonic on his podcast, and just sounded like a really cool guy, somebody that I could relate with. I know a lot of my family could, and I'm sure many of you out there will. And I don't know about you, but as I kind of get a little bit older and I start looking to buy a little bit higher quality product, the one thing that I really continue to start focusing on is where is it made and who owns the company and what's their reasoning behind what they're doing. And you'll quickly hear from Jason that he's a great guy. His heart's in the right place. They're very focused on conservation and getting new people into the outdoors, and the product is made right here in the USA. So I'm definitely behind that, supporter of those ideals, and wanted to get that out here to our community to have you all check out their product. So if you're, whether it is saddle hunting or if you're just doing mobile hunting with a portable, I think his steps would be a pretty lethal addition to your kit. So I personally just placed an order for 3 of his sticks, the 20 inchers with the retractable aiders. So I'm excited to probably see them here in 3-4 weeks, and I'm purging a little bit of my gear I had before. I've got a couple 2-3 sets of climbing sticks, and I got a climber that I'm thinking about separating from that I don't really use much at this point. So that's kind of what I'm doing, with some of this, higher quality gear, you're going to see a little bit higher cost. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm starting to look at is, what do I have that I don't really use much of that still has some value that I can turn and have this kind of just be an offsetting purchase, not so much an out-of-pocket purchase. So just a little bit of mindset about how I'm going about purchasing this stuff, as it is not cheap, and you'll find if it's not cheap, it's probably worth the money. It's probably got quality to it. So that's something I have learned over time, and it can be related to many different areas of life. So that's that on this conversation. Hope you enjoy. We kind of run through all kinds of different stuff, his experience hunting and things like that. So leave that there. Hope you all had a good weekend. It was beautiful. It was nice to not be sweating our butts off here in New York. So it was great getting out, picked some rocks with Bill Dan on Saturday, and got out doing some fishing today on Canisius Lake. And brother-in-law Don beat me again. So he's continuing to show me up. So I might stop inviting him to come fishing with me, but I'm not sure yet. So love you, Don, but you can pound rocks, buddy. Maybe you leave your fishing pole at home next time. So lastly, we finally got the hats in. So really excited about them. They came out great. Richardson 112 hats. Kind of more of we're going to order up some camo and maybe some blaze orange hats in the next probably month or so to have them in for hunting season. But these are just regular color, brown and black and gray are the kind of the color schemes. And then the patches are like a 4x1.5 rubber patch on the front that's got the horns from Frank and Beans, which is a buck. If you've been listening, it's a buck that we're currently still after up at our family camp. He's a giant last year, and hopefully he shows back up come middle of October like he has the last few years. So that's the buck that's on there. They're Frank's horns, and we're pretty proud of how the patches came out. They're awesome. So we'll have them up on the website so you can check them out. Danny's kind of putting everything together there. So we've got the 2 different hats and 3 new stickers that we got made up. So check that out this week. We'll have that all up on the store. You can order on there. We'll have a few different shipping methods. If you're local and you want to just have us drop it off or pick it up here, you can select that so you don't have to pay shipping. Or I think we're going to do like a $30 free shipping to start here. So the hats will be $27.50, and then if you throw a couple decals on, you'll hit your minimum there. So that's what we're doing. Things are rocking and rolling, moving on forward. I'm back to work. Energy's flying. So life is good. So everybody have a great week. Appreciate you listening and supporting. Check these guys out, Timber Ninja Outdoors. They're doing some great things and creating some great products. So have a great week. Thanks again. Keep fading them. Yeah, we started doing it with the podcast once all this stuff started going down, and it's actually been nice because we were doing quite a bit of stuff over the phone with like freeconferencecall.com, and the audio was terrible. It wasn't good. So this is actually, it works pretty slick, and we can record the video and post that if we want to. And so,
oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I was wondering how Zoom would work rolling over into video. Like, can you roll it to your YouTube as well?
Yeah, so you can actually broadcast live, and we've done it. It's pretty slick. So you could actually broadcast live to YouTube and Facebook at the same time if you wanted to. So so we ended up maybe 2 months ago, we bought like a subscription to it and not just using the free version, so we could do all that stuff. And it's a nice little deal. So I use it. My brother uses it for when he's doing recordings for the podcast, and we're getting use out of it. So don't feel like
how many people can you have on?
I think it's 10. It might be 10. It might even be able to do more than that, but you can do up to 10, and that's why we were originally using like Google Chat or whatever, through the email.
Yeah.
And that works, but that one's weird because you can't like pick how you want your screen displayed, and you'll end up having, if you're talking, it shows your face, and then somebody laughs and it shows their face, and it's just it's very scattered and hard to follow. So
yeah, we did that for we did this special webinar with people that pre-signed up for our sticks through the Google, and I never use Google. I always use Uber Conference for my business, but I use other people use Zoom or GoToMeeting or all the other ones, but I've never used it Google, and I wasn't super impressed with it, especially like we're gonna do more like live video stuff, and I mean it'd be cool like to do one that could transfer across Instagram and everything.
Yeah. So Instagram seems to be the one that just doesn't play nicely with it.
Yeah.
And we've done, what did we do? We did 3 live podcasts. We did one when the whole quarantine thing started, and it seemed like, oh, this is like a cool time for everybody. We're all stuck at home and we could have a happy hour. And then, now here we are 3 months later, but we did that. And then we did a one on trout fishing, had a bunch of guys on that were, expert or, very passionate and good fishermen to talk about it. So long story short, we were trying to stream to Instagram and Facebook at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like I had my laptop in my truck with my phone mounted in my RAM mount in my center console. So like we were doing it, but Instagram you can only go an hour at a time. So like you have to, oh wow, it's an hour, so I got to run out there and restart it. It's just Instagram's kind of a pain in the ass when it comes to that stuff right now.
Yeah, we haven't done a live on there yet. I mean, I keep having people asking me to do more live stuff, and it's funny, like they don't there's only so much you can do to talk about products, but they're like, hey, we just want to have some like BS sessions about hunting public land with you. And I'm like, well, whatever. I hunt a lot of it. I'm not gonna say I'm the professional of the East Coast or anything, but
well, it's so much fun hearing everybody's stories, and I think that's where it's very easy, and I've seen it, and I listened to a podcast today with, I don't know if you know who Mike Hearn is, if you follow him on Instagram, if it sounds familiar.
Maybe.
Mike Hearn, I think he's in the military, active right now in the Army, but he was on with a guy, Christ, now I'm going to forget the podcast name. It's terrible. It's Hunt something. The guy's out of PA. But it was like an extremely entertaining episode. They were just bullshitting, just talking about anything and everything that came up. And it was like it was over 2 hours long. And I love that stuff. Like I love a podcast like that. So it's very easy as a podcast host to like try to stay so regimented that it's like, oh, I want to hit these 10 points. And then it's just very robotic. If open conversation is just as much fun to me.
That's how I look at it, man. Like we're going to add from our media platform perspective, we're doing more video stuff. And my partner, Jordan, he's been filming since he was in high school. So he's been filming for, I don't know, 20 years. And he's never put anything up on social media or anything. Like he films all his hunts for himself.
Oh yeah. You were talking about that on the video you guys did last week.
Yeah. But he's like, no, we need to do more videos. I'm like, well, dude, just post what you've already done. Like, right. I don't want to carry a camera, but he made me get one. And, but we are going to add like a podcast element, but it's going to be more like adventure stuff. Like like you're saying, like stuff I like to hear is stories. Like I don't care about hearing the same dude's tactics 50 times that he's been on 50 different podcasts, and it's pretty much regurgitation, which hosts have a tendency to pull information out of people differently, but a lot of people, you kind of hear the same redundant stuff, but I don't know. Like we do want to add an element of that, because I just like to BS, like you were saying, and have fun.
Yeah, and that's so before we get, because we are BSing and this is flowing good, but so before I'll just introduce you. So you're Jason Red with Timber Ninja Outdoors, and so I connected with you, I think through I saw you guys through Genesis 3D printing. We had connected with him somehow on Instagram, and then saw that he was doing some stuff for you and saw what you were doing. So wanted to link up and get you on here to talk about your product, but also have a genuine old BS session. And sounds like we probably have quite a bit in common. So I wanted to dig into that a little bit too.
Yeah, roger that, man. Yeah, Austin's a great guy. I've liked working with him.
Yeah, it's a fun time right now. There's a bunch of interesting characters that are getting into just making some really unique and bringing products to the market that, they seem simple, but it's a game changer. What he's doing, what you're doing, it's an upstart deal, and you're kind of coming out of left field with something that is not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely for mobile hunters, I said this numerous times, that it's a great time for a mobile hunter in the industry. And because, so many people are innovative and are bringing products to the market, so that's, definitely a benefit, especially from where I came from growing up. We just made stuff and did it. And, you only had big box store options. And, but people have always innovated, so it's not like innovation's new. It's just more people are now bringing it to market, and a lot of platforms where it allows people to get it out there and turn it into, side hustle or a full-time gig for some of them,
Yeah, no doubt. So where are you from? I guess kind of run through that a little bit. Let everybody who's listening to this know who you are and kind of how you got to where you're at with starting a business, doing what you guys are doing.
Well, I'm originally from Arkansas, Mississippi Delta, born and raised there. Moved out to the mountains of Western North Carolina in 2009. But I've been hunting mobile public land since I was pretty young. I started hunting when I was 7, and we always hunted public land just because we didn't really have money to get into a lease or anything. So that was the way I was brought up, and I had a pretty, off the leash childhood. So at 14, I got to go travel with older buddies to go hunt, and that's what I like to do. I played sports a little bit, but honestly, I didn't stick with it because it interfered with hunting season. Like football and stuff was always kicking off during deer season or duck season. And, but, and I moved out here in 2009, like I said, and got really into mountain hunting. I always enjoyed the mountains. Through my early 20s, I got into endurance sports and started off running 5Ks up to doing triathlons to racing road bikes all around the country, and then ultra running and climbing and just adventuring. And then, I always hunted, but I took a period off where I was real serious, and I got really serious again, about 10 years ago, and but was able to merge all those hobbies together. And like my thing that I really enjoy doing is backcountry adventure based hunting is what I guess in my mind what I call it. Like I like going places that I haven't been before and just go in blind and hunt big tracts of land that I pick out that are I usually try to find places that are going to be harder for other people. I look for places that have access issues, whether it be by boat or big hikes or jeep trails to get back into an access point. And I always like to include the mountains in there. That way, you can fake fitness for about a day, but if you're in there for a week-long hunt, you can't fake it that long. So
No.
I enjoy that. And it led me to really perfecting my systems like we were talking about earlier. I've always been pretty innovative. Like my grandfather, I think I've mentioned this a few times on podcasts, but my grandfather had a buddy that owned a muffler shop and made me a lean-to stand out of muffler pipe that I could take apart and put it in 3 pieces and put it on as a backpack.
Really?
Yeah, and it had just like those metal folding chairs.
Yeah.
It had the legs cut off and it was welded to the top of it. So if you can imagine, it was like a muffler pipe going up as one single Y with Y, one single post with a Y bottom, and then a top where this chair was welded onto it, and then it had little rebar steps that took me up. So I was able to get into deep spots in the river bottoms, like using this thing and carrying it like a backpack. It was really funny.
That's
so
wild.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come up with that idea. My grandfather actually did, but I've always looked for things out of the box to be more efficient. And I hunt. One of the first places I started hunting away from home was Ohio, and I picked Southern Ohio because the mountains were very similar, to what we have here in North Carolina. A lot of the Appalachian range runs through there.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was just always started, obviously with a climber, like a lot of people. I always used a hand climber, but then I did the more comfortable climbers and got tired of packing stuff. It was, the weight wasn't always the issue. It was more of like getting hung up. You couldn't move through the woods stealthily with some of the stuff on your back. And I've also used lock on. So I had lock on stands, and, I used for a long period of time, I used a combination of lone wolf sticks and muddy sticks to kind of just balance myself out. I could use the longer lone wolves for getting me at height, and then I would use the short muddies to work in an angle of a tree, so I had this mixed bag of stuff. But, no matter what I found, none of the products actually stacked very well and were very efficient to me, and you had to, especially in the dark, the lone wolf stick was awesome, but you had to like angle it right to get them to semi stack, but then they would still crumble down, like, what I say, like a Jenga puzzle.
Yeah.
So I started dreaming up ways I could make something for myself. And like I was saying, I raced bikes for a long time. So I went through the period of transition when road bikes were going from aluminum to carbon fiber. So I had experience with bikes, with carbon fiber, knew it was a really good material. And also from climbing, I'd used ice axes that were made out of carbon fiber, and I knew it was a great material. And I was always wondered why nobody had ever made any other hunting products, for what I call at height products out of carbon fiber, which, at one time they did. Old man made a climbing stand out of carbon fiber back in the day. Yeah, it was only on for a short time, and my understanding is when they got bought out, the company that bought out Old Man did away with that product line for them. But that was way back in the day before carbon fiber technology really was where it is today. So I just look for ways for myself to make, think about products that I would want, and I started playing with the sticks first, and I essentially made the sticks for myself. I never really had intentions to bring a product to market. To be honest with you, I have two other businesses that I run, and really didn't have much time. But all my buddies that kept seeing my sticks were like, "Man, you really need to do something with this and bring it out." And my first generation of what I hunted with didn't really stack, because I was like, I'm not gonna worry about the stack, because I use a frame pack, and I just layered them around the pack. I didn't really care, they were lightweight and they grip good, and they were a double step and they worked. But all my buddies kept, picking them up, and they were just like, "Man, these things are stupid light, like you really ought to bring us to market." And so this past fall, I got serious about starting another company, and then that's when we started innovating and getting everything dialed in to where it stacked properly, and decided we were going to bring out mobile hunting products. And that's how we got to the C1 carbon stick, which we just released. And we have a deer stand, a lock-on stand too, that is a hybrid, but we're working on it to be a full carbon fiber right now, actually. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, essentially the whole company's going to be based around mobile hunting products,
Yeah. And it's a niche market, and I think people see the value in that stuff, and maybe that's why some of the larger companies haven't gone that way, because it's just, they have such a wide breadth of product that it's, they can't have it all. And maybe a product like yours is naturally probably going to be at a higher price point, because it's made out of premium materials, and it's not mass produced, right? So
yeah,
you're gonna but I guess where I was going with that is that in this industry, people, and I'm sure you've probably seen it in some of the other, you talked about biking and, the ultra sports and things like that. People, when you're doing this stuff and that's your passion, that's what you're doing all the time, you can see the value in something that's going to make a part of what you do easier, or, less effort has to go into it if you have a better quality product. And like yours, weight is the big thing. Like those steps are, when you set it on your live Q&A thing you did last week, So what's it? They're like 1.3 pounds a piece. Is that what?
Yeah, it depends on, honestly, it depends on whose scale. Like on the 20-inch, on my scale, they're like 1.23. On Austin's, they were 1.29, and our 24-inch is 1.4. And I think, I can't remember, Taylor Chamberlain has a set of 24s. I forget what he measured them out to, but they're right there, within a half ounce, But yeah, they're lightweight. I mean, but it wasn't necessarily just the weight part. It was stackability as well, and making stuff quiet. I mean, like aluminum's loud. Like if you ding it, it makes a very metallic, unnatural sound in the woods. Whereas carbon fiber, it doesn't. It does make a noise, but it's not. It's a very dense noise, and we use a polymer step. Our step's made out of polymer, so it doesn't have metallic. It doesn't make a metallic noise either. And the only thing on our product that's metal is the hardware for the bolts, and then our standoff. That's the only thing that's metal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I think a lot of the problems, I think with the bigger companies, they have a vast majority of the market share, and they mass produce a lot of stuff, and they really haven't innovated a lot. I mean, I've said this multiple times. And it's not like to discredit anybody, but there hasn't been major innovation since Lone Wolf come out with their products years ago. I mean, everything's kind of played off of that, of like some variation, right? And it really astonishes me that nothing's really changed much,
Mm-hmm.
Especially as materials go.
Yeah. And it didn't hit me how light your sticks were until you said how much, when you put it in a factor of 3 and you think about what 3 of them weigh, and it's like you could be into it for essentially 5 pounds for 3 of those sticks together. And that's a huge difference when you're talking, 9 pounds to carry. Like I have been using the Hawk Heliums, and those, it's about 9 pounds, I think, for the 3 of them together with the straps and everything. And 4 pounds it's a lot of weight when you start thinking about, putting them, if you're using a saddle and you're climbing the tree and hanging them from your belt, or, I didn't have a system like that. I just bought some stuff from Austin. So I'll be, running things off my saddle instead of running them. I was like a suicide artist, because last year I was hanging everything around my neck and climbing up the tree that way. But I've been thinking about your product, and it's going with those 20-inch sticks, and then having that drop down aider. You have a part of one of your nice little features that you have it's like a cable, right? It's a cable aider that slides up into the shaft of the climbing stick.
Yeah, it's a retractable aider. On the 20-inch, it's 14 inches. So essentially you get 34 inches of climbing height at around 1.6 pounds.
Yeah.
And most of the orders, a lot of guys use one aider and they'll use it on their bottom stick. But most of the orders we've gotten so far, people are just putting all the aiders on there because, I mean, the whole thing for me is efficiency. And I don't like stuff hanging everywhere. And, the people that use aiders now, they have to wrap them around their sticks and stuff like that. And, I'm sure you have rhododendron and laurel up your way in the mountains, and that stuff will wreak havoc on you here. That's, we have a lot of that, or, briars and stuff. I just don't like my stuff getting hung up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where my mind's going. I have those, they're the longer 3-step Hawks. And I have a Kafaru pack, and the way I was using it last year was my first year going like straight up mobile with a saddle. And I would actually put the sticks I basically had nothing in my bag, and I would put the sticks in my reckoning pack. And then I would, you can strap it down across the center all the way up. So those things were, they were in there and they were out of the elements. So they weren't hitting stuff, but they were sticking up maybe a few inches over the top of my head. But, thinking about that stick of yours, you take a 20-inch stick and then have that aider that slides up inside, that would go right inside of my pack. And basically there's nothing out in the open that can get snagged on anything.
No, that's why we designed the 20-inch. I use a frame pack exclusively, and my frame is 24 inches, and I wanted the stick to fit within the profile of my torso, and that's why the 20 inch was originally the only one I was going to bring to market. And then Jordan, he's taller and he always likes the 24, and so we were able to hit both worlds with 2 sticks. And really with our order so far, it's been about even kill between 20 and 24 inch.
Yeah.
And I get people that ask me like, hey, can you do a 17 inch? And it's like, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but the reason most people were making 17s was because they were using aluminum. That was the only way they could make them lighter.
Yeah.
Whereas with our product, you don't get much weight difference by the length of the tube. It's all in the components.
Yeah. Yeah, because the carbon fiber is so light. I mean, if you add 4 or 5 inches to it, it's not making that much of a difference.
Yeah. No, and you're talking like even with our hybrid stand I hunted last year, it's a lock-on stand, and with the stand and 4 sticks, I was at like a little over 12 pounds. I mean, that's a lock-on, and
right.
Which I prefer lock-on because especially for rut hunts, I'm there all day, and I've hung out of harnesses climbing for years, and I don't know how many guys hunt daylight to dark out of a harness. I mean, out of a saddle.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will say that they've done it. I'm sure that there's people that do it, but to do it day after day, and I've been out all day and I've hunted in my harness for 4 hours in the morning and moved to a different spot and hunted 4 hours in the evening or whatever. But that's not all day, sun up to sundown in any stand is uncomfortable. And, I don't really care how you split it in a saddle. It's, you have pressure points, and I'm still getting used to it, but you've got pressure points, and as long as you've got pressure points, you're going to have some discomfort. So it's nice. Like, I think that's one of the weird things, not weird, but it's one of those things about this mobile hunting movement is that, like, and I can get caught up in it sometimes too, that you just get like blinded to like, I'm all mobile, like gotta go saddle all the time. And it's just, you don't have to do that. Like, there's all these other methods, and you can use all these pieces as different tools throughout the season. And every day can be different depending on the situation. But, I think people can get so radical with, getting all in on one thing or the other that you don't have to bail on those other tactics that have worked fine for a long time.
You don't have to label yourself as one thing or other. And that's what we say in our, overview of our company. We design products for people that hunt out, saddles, tree stands, or ground hunters. I mean, we've got other stuff we're going to come out with. And I mean, I see benefits to saddles. One thing I see to be a very strong benefit is really getting in tight if you're hunting beds, which I hunt a lot of beds. But especially early season, if you're getting in before daylight and trying to catch them coming back to their bed, and you just need to get in real quick, you're only there for a couple of hours anyway. I'm going to incorporate a saddle and like some type of micro platform this year for more of that for early season. But for more of the all day hunts, I'm going to stick with the lock on myself.
And that's, I don't know, do you have kids or no?
Yeah, I have one. He's 11.
Yeah, so he's fending for himself at this point. But I mean, this past year was my second hunting season with kids, and this year I'll have 2. So it's, having 2 kids under the age of 3. I guess I'll be under the age of 3 for an upcoming season. I mean, that's where mobile hunting has become such a huge benefit, because I can do, like you said, I can just go out for 2 hours. And if all I have is to hunt in the morning from dark till 8 a.m., you're not stressing about going in and finding a tree that you can run a climber up, and it's, oh shit, I got a shooting lane I can't hit. Whereas, you just go in the dark with a saddle and you find a tree that's as big around as your leg and you can hunt out of it. And that's the beauty that I came away from last year, is you just have so much flexibility. And, the night that I had a good night last year, best night I've ever had, shot my best buck and 2 does in one sit. And, and that was just completely pulled that out of my ass. We've never put a stand in that area, had no trees prepped. And it was just walked in there, and I'm looking around and I'm like, well, I want to hunt in this area, but just find something to get into. And I couldn't have done that with a portable without cutting limbs and, having to find a tree big enough to run that stand up. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to be mobile when you need to.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Especially if you go to places kind of like I do, where you've never been there before. You just kind of go in blind, like different states or whatever. You don't necessarily know what the trees are, and that was always a problem. Like you were saying with climbing stands, you had to trim trees if you didn't have like good established old growth or high pines or poplar or something. But and I even hunted for a while, and I still do some off of ropes. I just either throw a rope or have a fixed line set up in places if I've been there before, and I jug the rope on a cinders in my climbing harness. But the problem with that is you can't go in blind with that either, because you always got to find a tree to get a limb around, So that's why, in my opinion, climbing sticks are the best all around. You can get up any tree with climbing sticks, and you can set up in any tree with a saddle or lock-on stand to a degree. Like I've never had a problem getting a lock-on in a tree. And I hunt trees. I hunt pretty low too. I'm rarely over 12 feet. It's just kind of where I find myself most of the time.
You always done that, or is that a kind of a newer thing that you've started hunting lower?
No, I always look at, well, no, I used to get up high because that's what people said you had to do. Right. And, but really it doesn't matter how high you are if you don't have a good backdrop, and if you're getting skylined. And I play the shadows, like I want to make sure I'm in the shadows, or I like to have a tree in between me and where the deer are coming from. Cause most time I have a pretty good idea where the animal I'm wanting to go after is. So most time I know where he's coming from, like 90%. Like I know where he's going to come from, and I want a tree in between us. And that helps a lot. And, I like to find funky trees that are split. That's the ideal thing for me. But if not, then I'm looking at what my backdrop is and be in the shadows. And I filmed some deer with my phone a couple years ago, buck walking right under. I could have reached and grabbed him by his horns, and I was on a tree that anytime I moved, the whole tree would move with me. But, it's just where I needed to be, based on the wind and terrain.
Yeah. It's the whole getting high thing. I think you hit it. And I'm glad to hear that you're the same way, where we were just doing it because that's what we were seeing on the VHS tapes, the DVDs, and hunting television, was you got to be 25, 30 feet. And if you're not up that high, then you're not a man and not a successful deer hunter.
Right.
It's, the more, that's the one thing with the last year with not having, if I was mobile before, it was with a climber, or I was hunting a ladder stand or a preset portable. And those portables were always as high as I could comfortably be. And a ladder stand, you're at 15, 20 feet. But with that, with that saddle, I found, and I was hearing a lot about guys hunting a little bit lower because you didn't have such a shot angle with a bow. And I've experienced that quite a bit. And a lot of the area I hunt is ag land. And it seems like during archery, so many of my shots were like, they're under 10 yards, a lot of my archery shots.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not good when you're super high up in a tree. Even when you're 20 feet and 15 feet, 15 to 18 feet, you can even run into it. Where if they're that close, you'd have to be on the ground to have a level shot. But, the higher you are, the less time that arrow is going to be inside that animal. And I've had a couple rodeos just because of the fact that angle is so steep coming down on the animal at that close of a range. And I've missed them, because maybe if I had more than just, 6 inches from coming straight down on them, maybe I would have actually hit them. But
yeah, most people have a problem, of understanding how to really draw your bow in those circumstances. You really need to kind of get drawn with your shoulders level like they should be, and then pivot your hips. That throws off shot angles a lot. I'm not, especially early season, it's hard to get up high anyway because of the growth. And where I live, the mountains are so steep, it doesn't matter how high you get, you're going to be eye level with something if he's up above you on the mountain.
Yeah. Do you practice out of the stand, shooting, for stuff like that to work on the angles, or how do you work on that?
Yeah, I do some, not a ton, to be honest. in my mind, I know what I have to do, and it's pivot at my hips. But you know, I do some, not a ton by any means. I shoot a lot, and you know, I shoot every day, especially, you know, I'm a 100% traditional shooter. So I have to shoot that thing every day to feel comfortable I don't know, it's just peace of mind. And also it's fun.
Yeah. Have you always been trad, or when did you make that switch?
No, I went 100% with it last year. And the reason is I do a lot of hunting out West, and, you know, you go out there and you get in the backcountry, you get 1-2 weeks a year, you go out for a trip like that. And if you get back in there and, you know, I mean, you're 4+ miles back a lot of times, and no telling how far, you know, your trailhead is from the nearest town. And I was always concerned about you know, if something happened in my compound, and there I am, I've ruined my hunt for the week. And also I like to do things that are a little bit more challenging, and definitely a traditional bow is a challenging art, in my opinion. And they're just real beautiful, you know, and I'm really into the art of it. You know, I think they're cool. And also, you know, I've killed a fair amount of animals over my life with a bow, and I started looking at the average shot distance of my kills, and they were all under 18 yards. So that helped out a lot. And I had a really good mentor. We have a good bowyer here in Asheville, and he taught me how to shoot. And it was really a pretty easy transition for me, because I always focused on shot execution anyway with a compound, using back tension and stuff. And really I just applied those same sequences to the traditional bow, and I really didn't have a strong learning curve. I'm not going to say I'm Aaron Snyder or anybody, but I shoot fairly well with it. I'm confident.
Yeah, it's a romantic thing. You know, you hear so much about it, and I listen to Snyder and Kafaru cast, and, you know, you just see a lot of people playing with it, and I get it. I certainly hear where the experience that you have with it is awesome, but I'm not there yet. I haven't conquered the compound and feel confident enough with that to think that I can go out and be a killer with the trad bow yet. But
well, yeah, it's the cool thing is, if you miss with a trad bow, nobody gives you shit.
Right.
So,
yeah. You have two types of trad bow hunters: people that can't kill anything, so they get a trad bow so that nobody will judge them because they can't kill anything, or somebody that's a real killer and just wants to challenge themselves.
You know, it's funny. I thought, I mean, I'm fortunate. I get on some good deer or good animals every year, and, you know, I kill a good amount, but there's always those ones that slip through, you know. And I thought when I went 100% with the trad bow, that just like the hunting gods would allow me to see even more deer, which last year is probably one of my better years as far as seeing quality animals. I saw five bucks in 3 states on public. They were over Pope and Young, and but I'll be damned if they were all at like 35 yards. You know, like there have been 10 rings with my compound, you know, and but I had trad bow, and I'm like, geez, I thought they would be like walking around because they just, you know, maybe knew they wouldn't get hit. But yeah, it's how it works out.
Got that sixth sense, right?
They do, man. I've had a conversation with a buddy of mine another day. It's like I was hunting this booner one year, and I had him dialed like on a camera. He was doing the same thing every afternoon. An opening weekend came, and that afternoon he did the same thing. He was coming, and I had an hour and a half of shooting light left, and he hung up at 50 yards, and I had an hour and a half. And he was eating acorns, and I was like, oh, he's dead. He's gonna come right down this logging road like he's done every day. And I'd be darned if he didn't. He took 3 steps in an hour. He was sitting there munching, and I ended up getting pinned to my stand, and he was under me at dark, just crunching away. I had to sit in my stand about 9, and so there he won that time. And then about 3 weeks later, I ran into him again, and he was at 35 yards quartering away, and I went to draw on him, and I was shooting a compound in, and my release barely touched my nock. I was shooting a nocturnal and shot my arrow off the front. Like never in my life that had ever happened. And you know, it's just one of those things. Those old bucks, they're able to reach that age because they're smart, but I think also they've got some luck in their back pocket too.
It's those deer gods you were talking about a minute ago that are putting all the deer at 35 yards now.
Yeah, they work in their favor, not ours.
Yeah.
But you stay at it long enough and keep trying, and they end up crossing your path.
Yeah. So it's funny because you don't hear a whole lot. And granted, I'm up here in New York, and I listen to a lot of stuff from the Midwest. There's a lot of content out there from the Midwest and from the West. What's the hunting scene like down in the Carolinas? You guys have some pretty good mountainous area, but I literally know nothing about. I know you guys have big black bears. I know that. But what's it like down there? Is there a lot of opportunity? Is there a lot of deer? Do you get a lot of tags?
Yeah, it's free reign on tags. We have some quality deer. If you get back and find them, because we have a lot of public land. We have 275,000 acres of national forest here.
Oh.
The problem is we don't have deer density. Average kill here is in national forest is 0.4 bucks per square mile.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I'm fortunate. I get on a lot of older age class deer, but that may be the only deer I see when I'm hunting North Carolina. Yeah. And I'll hunt multiple days and don't see anything. Even trails, you don't see trails that much. And the problem is that, we don't have a strong forestry management plan here. Like our timber doesn't get harvested. I go to states like, I'm going to hunt Virginia this year, and I went over with a buddy, Heath Jolly from Budget Buck Outdoors. He hunts Virginia a lot. And you go over there and it's same mountain ranges, same terrain, but they manage their forest better, and there's deer everywhere. And the quality's there too. And they have same duration of hunts. They have gun hunts during the rut, so everything that you would think that people say you shouldn't have to have quality deer, and they have quality deer and they have a lot of deer.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, habitat.
100%. We deal with that here in New York. We have a ton of public land here too, but it's, our number looks super impressive, but that's because the Adirondack Park is so big.
Right.
That's 1 million something acres, if not 2. But all, nothing, there's very little timber management on any of our public land here. And there's good hunting to be had, but it could be so much better. And we go down to Pennsylvania every year for a long weekend to rifle. And it's just, you see what they've got going on, and every year it's getting better. The timber management on their, I think it's state forest or national forest it's a state forest, I think, that we hunt in. But, we were down doing some scouting with a guy, Steve Shirk, last week. He showed us around down in the Allegheny National Forest, and, they're doing a lot of timber management in there, trying to get rid of, I believe, the ash borer. So they're cutting a lot of ash down, but, just the habitat is, the deer density is not, you can only support so much. The deer, it's not farmland like where I am right here, but it's a lot different than hunting state land around here. You go into a piece of state land here, unless we've had a bad winter storm in the prior years, it's like you can see 100 yards to 200 yards in the hardwoods, no problem. And there's a lot of sign because they're there at night eating and tearing it up, but they're not there during the day.
Yeah, it took me a while to find the deer here. I'm not gonna say I have them dialed, but I get on a couple good bucks every year here, and they keep getting better. And our deer numbers are going up. We have a lot of bear, especially the East Coast, around all the peanut farms and stuff, has a lot of the monster bears. That's where they kill 600-700 pound black bears. We have a pretty good density up here, not really big ones. Like I killed one a couple years ago, and it was, 150, 200 pounds, which is a decent bear. But I see, I definitely see more bear than I see deer, and we have a lot of turkeys, so that's nice. But, I think we had a couple burns that happened, and that's helped habitat a lot. And, but our quality is getting up. Every year we're getting we're starting, last year I know of 2 like 160, 170 deer that were killed around here.
Wow.
So the quality is getting a lot better. It's just the numbers still aren't there. And I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I grew up in a high density area, so I've seen a lot of deer, and now I'm after more age class anyway, so I don't need to see a deer every time. As long as when I do see it, I want to see the one I'm after.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the progression of a hunter. You're a few years ahead of me, and everybody kind of goes through these stages where you're very green, you're learning, and then you go to the next step and you're killing, and you're trying to learn how to be efficient doing that. And then you go to the point where you're trying to focus on the deer, not any deer. You're focused on not even necessarily deer, but any animal you're after.
Yeah.
The whole game changes.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks for my little boy though, like starting out, he's 11, you go out there and you hunt 3-4 days and he doesn't see anything,
Yeah.
so
that's tough. That's tough. So like where you grew up in Arkansas, was there a lot of deer and you were able to have that action?
Yeah, we had to travel a little bit because where I actually lived was just a lot of rice fields and small wood lots. But we, a few hours away, and definitely like high deer density and decent quality bucks. Now Arkansas has really good quality bucks. So yeah, it was a lot different. And I moved to Tennessee when I was in high school. Mom got remarried, and we had a high density and high age class too. So that was in West Tennessee. There's a lot of good deer there.
Yeah.
So it's all ag.
Is it in West Tennessee?
Yeah, a lot of ag and finch rows and some river bottoms.
Yeah, it's just like perception. You say the big bears in Carolina are over towards the coast, and I wouldn't have thought that. So what is towards the coast? Is there a fair amount of like wooded timbered area and farmland, or is it? I just envision the coast being a lot of population and people around there. But
North Carolina coast is there's a lot of ag and very rural, a lot of swamps, and they kill some. They run a lot of dogs there too, and they run a lot of dogs for deer down that way.
Huh.
But they kill some huge bears. What's her name? Eva Shockey. She killed one a couple years ago that I saw.
It was like 800 pounds or something. Wasn't
it was one of the biggest black bears. Yeah,
that thing was a giant.
Yeah, because they just eating peanuts and corn.
Yeah, I'd be 800 pounds if I sat and ate peanuts and corn all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to walk up hills. You just kind of like lay around the swamp.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So when did you start going out west? When did that happen for you?
Well, I started going out there running, doing like a lot of running and rock climbing, and I wanted to do more hunting out there. And so about four years ago, I started going out there elk hunting. And I got a buddy I grew up with that we grew up together in Arkansas, and he went in the military after high school, and we were best friends growing up, hunted together all the time. And he ended up settling after the military in Colorado and hunts a lot out west for a lot of mule deer, antelope, and elk. And so that's who I started going with, and I still go with my main adventure hunting buddy out west, and we're doing a trip we're going to Alaska in August.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit about that. But so what have you gone after? Have you hunted Colorado primarily, or where else have you been in?
All Colorado, just over the counter elk, archery season.
Nice.
Yeah, we've stuck some. We killed a 5.3 years ago, and this year was pretty bad. They just weren't bugling. We like that first to second week, because when they start bugling hard, you get more pressure. And if you catch it right and they're bugling early, they're still kind of in their home range. Right. And I'm not gonna say you can pattern them, but usually a bull, he's going to kind of stay in that area for a little while. And if you can find him, you can get a couple opportunities at him. And, definitely we've had some missed opportunities. I mean, where we hunt, it's like 8% success rate. But it's fun though, man. I love it. I mean, we go out and usually about 10 days and we hike in. and out in the backcountry for the whole time. That's, to me, that's the accomplishment. I mean, killing something's just the icing on the cake, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What week were you out there this year? Were you out there the second week or?
No, we were opening week this year, and man, like technically the date, you know, how the opener falls, like we were essentially the same dates we were the year before.
Yeah, the season was late this year out there.
Yeah. Well, no,
year.
it was early. It opened up. No, yes, you're right. It was late, but it was just so hot, man. We went the same time the year before, and it was getting down in the, you know, high 30s at night, and they were bugling. You couldn't even sleep.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had to yank a bugle out of them, you know, and there was no bugling after 9 o'clock. And anything we did, you know, we called in one that came in silent on us, and we got on one herd bull, and my buddy stuck him, hit him a little far back, and we weren't able to retrieve him, but an outfitter actually found him a week later.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's kind of like hunting turkeys. If they're not gobbling, you know, it's crazy to me, an 800-pound animal you can't find in the woods. You know?
Even I made this comment on a podcast we did a few weeks ago, talking with somebody about how the turkeys, you know, how I did compare, you know, people compare turkeys and elk, and, you know, in a lot of ways you obviously can't compare them because they're 1,000 pounds difference. But it's when we were out there we were out there for muzzleloader in Colorado this past fall. So I think it was like the 14th to the 21st was the season, I think. Or it was later. And the reason why I said the season started later, I don't really know when archery started this past year, but I know our muzzleloader week was a week later than it was 2 years ago when we went.
Right.
And, you know, it was the same thing. I mean, they were not talking. We saw elk, we saw plenty of elk, but they weren't talking at all. And it is amazing how, you know, we were hunting in this one basin, and, you know, it's pretty tight, you know, everything throated down, and you had a real big mountain here that was impassable and another big mountain over here that's impassable. So everything chokes down to the bottom. And we would watch those elk. There was one day in particular, we watched a bull with, you know, 6 or 7 cows, whatever it was. We watched them come down from above tree line and come down into the trees. And we were not far behind them. I mean, we were when we saw them, we were probably 500 yards away, and we didn't waste any time. We got right over there and tried to get below them when they were coming down. And I mean, nothing, you know, but we were in sign that was so fresh. I mean, you could smell them, and, you know, people talk about that. And that was the first time I'd really experienced that, where we're standing in beds, and it's like, Jesus, they were just here. Like, whether we bumped them or they were passing through, whatever, like, but we never heard them, never saw them, but you know, they're in there. But that dark timber is just, they could be 50 yards away over some small little, you know, piece of topography. You'd never know they were there. And unless they're talking, you know,
it's funny, you know, like all animals kind of are that way, in my opinion. When they don't think anything's around, they sound like a freight train coming through the woods. But, you know, I'm sure you've seen like an old buck or a bear. If they don't know you're around, they make noise. But as soon as they hear anything, they just turn into a ninja, and you cannot hear anything.
Almost like timber ninjas, you know?
Yeah, exactly, like a timber ninja. But same thing with you know, those bulls, man. It's just shocking. You know, they're walking around with a freaking rocking chair on top of their head, and, you know, going through aspen, and you can't even hear them clanging. And the thing that gets up there too is the wind. You know, the wind can change on you so quick. And, you know, we were stalking in on kind of like what you were talking about. We saw a group side hilling, and we ran up this scree field and started working our way up and calling, and they responded. And the wind was just right, and just feel it on the back of your neck, and all of a sudden you hear them blow out. You know,
yeah.
It just happens that quick. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like just demoralizing when it happens, especially when you're close. And I don't know if you have listened. You probably haven't listened. I mean, it was one of our first podcasts, because we started this podcast back last year when we were going out west, and I had just an incredible opportunity. We had both mule deer and elk tags, and it was it was a Monday night, but we we had gone in, we hunted opening day Saturday. One of our guys in our group shot a bull. So we packed the bull out. And so by the time we get back in, we're hunting Monday night, and I go out by myself down into these meadows, and I end up getting into deer. So I'm trying to make them play on these deer, and there ended up being a group of like 8-10 bucks, and they were all good bucks, and they were fighting, and they were working right to me. So I'm in this little creek bed in this meadow that's, you know, approaching tree line, and as I'm watching these bucks, I'm in this creek bed right before it drops off and kind of like goes down into the meadow as the meadow breaks down into where it meets the trees. And right over the top of these deer, I see something moving in the timber, and it's elk. And this group of cows comes out, and they're working up to me. And at this point, you know, the thermals are perfect. Everything's coming right in my face. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I got these deer at like 130 yards. They're coming straight to me. Any of these bucks I'd shoot in a heartbeat. And some of them, or a few of them, were good bucks. And doesn't a bull come out with right behind the cows. And so at one point I had, you know, 8 to 10 elk, including the one bull, and 8 to 10 bucks, like literally in the same sight picture. I'm looking out here. And so the cows were getting close. I had a couple cows that got in like 60 yards. And the bull was at 114, and I kept ranging them. And everything was happening so perfectly. I'm like, I'm calm. Like I have I'm prone, I'm laying down, rock solid base. Like everything's just golden. And I had hammer cocked, I'm on the bull, and I had been practicing at 100 yards. And I just kept telling myself, they're coming. Like, don't rush it. Just take your time, be patient, you know, just let it happen. And you know where this is going. All of a sudden, the wind switched, and one of the cows, she didn't like it, and she took off, and she took all the elk with her, and they ran over to where the deer were, and the deer all took off and running. So you got essentially 20 animals that I could have shot any of them legally, you know, 20 animals. And then, you know, that's the moral of the hunt. And I missed a buck the next morning, you know, just blew the shot, you know, screwed up. But, you know, it's just like, it happens that quick. And I got into them. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm green at this, but it's right there. And just something's totally out of your control just blows up your whole hunt, you know.
Oh, it does. That muzzleloading season is when they supposedly, most places in Colorado, I guess they're really fired up around muzzleloading season.
Yeah.
Do you have points to pull that tag?
So we've started to kind of figure it out a little bit. And this area that we're going is not a coveted area, but we've had the group of us have been in there. We were in there in 17. We had a group of guys in there in 18, and then we went back last year in 19. And every year there's been elk in there, and you can draw it with 1 point. And I think there was some people that drew it with no points, but
really?
we just used our points because at this point, with the way that points are going and the point creep and people getting so high, like I want to hunt, I want to get out there, I want to get the opportunity, and I feel most confident with a gun in my hand. So if I can get out there in September before our hunting season gets going here, like, and if I can use, you know, every other year go for elk with a muzzleloader, like why not? But so here's the thing too, if you're interested in muzzleloader mule deer, there's a lot of areas that we went first choice preference point, second choice, the tag. And we drew, all of us that went in for that, we all drew our muzzleloader deer tag with second choice.
Huh.
And dude, there's a shitload of deer in that area. I mean,
the hard tag gets the early season archery tag
for deer or for
deer. Yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, it's all unit based. I've been saving points because I want to go do a high country, you know, mule deer hunt early season, and I think I have 3 points, which I mean, I know people pull them in like 2 or 3. My buddy's like, he's like, it'd be best to get 4. I like to do that hunt out there. And I've got a few other places I want to go. Just, you know, timing's more the problem. I still have a non-hunting related business that I operate, so I can't leave for months at a time just quite yet.
Yeah, it's just, that's the way it is. Yeah, it's one of those things. And this hunt we were on this year out there, I mean, I could not believe the number of people we saw up in there. That opening Saturday, a muzzleloader, most of the people were actually like locals archery hunting. And they were they were 7 miles in there, and they were just weekend hunting, and none of them dropped into the basin and hunted. I think they were just like hunting through. So they would hunt and then camp for the night and then hunt out the other side, come out the other side of the unit to another trailhead is what it seemed like was going on. And, all throughout the week, there was not a single hunter up in there. We were the only ones, but the amount of people that were just recreating was unbelievable to me. I mean, you'd be up there at 7 a.m. at this pass at 7 miles from the trailhead, and here comes a runner up the trail, and it's like, holy shit. It's like, what time did you start,
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's a lot, man. I mean, I know I've noticed years I've been going out there, a lot more people are coming, out to hunt. I mean, they say hunter numbers are down, but man, I think from a bow hunting and mountain hunting perspective, I would say, those numbers are probably up if you were to break it all down personally.
it's probably never been higher. I mean, there's so many people that are, I mean, it's a popular thing, and I get it now that I've done it. I'm hooked, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear the same. I mean, I notice the same thing on public land. Whitetail hunting is, especially like in Ohio. I quit hunting Ohio. Well, this past year is the first year I haven't hunted it, and it was just getting to be a rodeo in some spots. I mean, you're always able to get away from people, but there's still a lot of places that are hidden that you can go and not run into people. That's my thing. I'd rather see less deer and no people than more deer and a few people. I don't like people boogering my hunt up.
No. And there's nothing more frustrating than being in a place where you think that you're not going to see anybody, and here they come. It's like, son of a bitch, I put so much effort into getting back in here, and this guy.
Just the nostalgia.
But that's part of the challenge of it. That's one of the reasons why you do it.
Yeah, I don't get bummed out. Like I don't base the success of my hunt on killing something anymore. It's all about the experience and having a good time. I mean, I'm only 40, so I got plenty of years to continue to kill stuff.
Yeah, a lot of time left. So I want to. We've been on here for an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
But watching last week, a couple of things you hit on that kind of spoke to me, that you guys are real passionate about conservation and education and ethics and all that. So I guess where does that come from? What are you involved in? What sort of stuff? You speak to that, but what are you guys all up to with that?
Well, I mean, I've always been big on conservation, and I mean, since I was young, I was guided duck hunters and stuff. So I've always been involved with Ducks Unlimited and National Wildlife Turkey Federation, or National Wild Turkey Federation, sorry. And I contribute to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, but a lot of the things, like for instance, the turkey population. When I was growing up, there wasn't really a turkey population. And there's not many places you can go these days that doesn't have turkeys, and a lot of that's because of the NWTF. And and we were talking earlier about hunter numbers being down, and like mentorship. I mean, there's a problem because through a lot of people that are in their 30s or even my age, I would say the 30s were hurt worse. A lot of the dads, those people's dads weren't hunting anymore, and so we lost a lot of numbers there. So mentorship is really important, and also we talk about public land access is very important, as well as habitat. We discussed that. So I didn't really start this company to really make a lot of money off of it. It was more like because it's fun and something I really enjoyed doing, and then also it's a good platform for us to be able to give back and try to keep this going for all of us, my kid and your kids and everybody. And so we want to play a part in that. And Tyler Ross, who's one of the people involved with the business too, he's on soil and water conservation, and he's been really big with conservation for a long time, especially as far as habitat goes. I mean, he's involved with Rough Grouse Society. We are all involved with backcountry hunters and anglers, and so he kind of heads up that section of our business, and hopefully that will instigate more people to start giving back. hopefully you can set a trend with that. I mean, some people do, but I think a lot don't. You don't see it advertised. And what we do is we call it the conservation pyramid. So we're going to be giving money back on a quarterly basis to different parts of that pyramid, which is like I said, it's habitat, wildlife, and access. So not necessarily always partnering up with the same companies. We're going to lean more on our customer and follower base to, hey, who do you think is doing a good job out there and that we can donate money to? Just kind of spread the wealth. I mean, there's a lot, like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of companies getting started making products. There's also a lot of people getting started doing conservation work.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. I mean, I'm seeing we've got a pretty good chapter and a pretty good coordinator here for NWTF in the Western New York area. He's a younger guy, very active, very aware of what's going on with the younger generation. And, that's an organization that I keep coming back to because it's something that hits home right here. We've talked a lot about turkey populations seem like they're down this year, the last few years, but especially this year, the hunting, there just doesn't seem to be the birds around. And it's like, that's something you can sink your teeth into, that's a at-home issue that you can, participate and help. But, it's a very unique time right now because I feel like there's not time, as much as there is time, there isn't. And you got to figure out a way to, it can be overwhelming. I think this is kind of where we're at with what we're doing, where you want to just make people aware and however they can help conservation, whether maybe it's just having a $25 membership to, X conservation organization, pick the one that speaks to you. And if that's all you can do, then that's great. If you can go to one banquet a year and help, spend $500 and because you don't have the time to go do trail maintenance or some habitat project, it's tough. I mean, I'm seeing it now. It's just like, there's just not enough hours in the day. You want to do all the stuff, but
it's, there's multiple ways, like you said. I mean, we get involved, with sweat, financially due to time. It's really a lot better for me, to be honest. But, there's even groups that we don't think about that, like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation with their implementation of elk on the East Coast. There comes habitat work. And that habitat for those elk benefits all the other wildlife too.
Right.
And I think sometimes people don't really think about that from the perspective. And yeah, it's a lottery ticket to be able to hunt elk on the East Coast, but giving some money back to them really can help our whitetail habitat. It can help, quail and, grouse, like, the Rough Grouse Society. I mean, the grouse population is really taking a dip. And, so, I think spreading that wealth and the hunter recruitment side, I mean, it's interesting to me. I mean, I take a lot of kids hunting, but the amount of people, especially here in Asheville, that I've connected with that are very intelligent, 30 somethings, some people would call them hipsters, like that's been like the biggest hunt recruitment that I've seen. Like people like that come to me and like, hey, I hear, I know you're a bow hunter, you're a hunter, can you teach me how to hunt, how to shoot a bow? And it's awesome because, they're very ethical people and have a good head on their shoulders and very good listeners. And, I mean, I know of 10 guys in the last 2 years that have gotten involved in hunting that had never grown up around guns or anything. And the interesting part is they all want to do, a lot of them I meet through like running or climbing. And
I was just
they're very intricate, focused people, and they automatically like gravitate towards bow hunting because it's a little bit more challenging. So I'm like, well, if you want to actually kill someone, you just pick up a gun first and let's start knocking down some animals.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you, that was one of the things is like, are you still kind of in that community, in the running and biking and climbing community?
Oh yeah. I mean, I run 3-4 days a week. Still ride some, a mountain bike, and I do some road riding. And my climbing has taken a little bit of a backseat over the last few years. Like I don't get out and travel as much, and but I do still climb some. I mean, I try to stay in climbing shape around home. I have a fingerboard that I keep my fingers and stuff strong on, but I just don't get the time out. It's just get so busy and there's only so many things you can do, but I at least try to get out a few times. It's just the whole traveling and going to other parts of the country to climb. I haven't done that in about 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the reason why I asked the question, if you're still active, I've gotten into, I always played team sports growing up, and my uncles, my Uncle Tim and Uncle Chris, they've been trail running for years, and done some road races, but primarily, trail running.
Yeah.
And so I got into that maybe 4 years ago, and just fell in love with it. It's a sport you can do on your own, on your time, whenever you can. And I love getting on putting a plan out, and I stick to it. If I have a 20-week program, that's my goal, is to not miss a workout. But enough about me. Where I was going with that is that community is very interesting. If you are in like a trail circuit and you're seeing the same people multiple times a year, you almost become, aware of who they are, what they're all about. And the running community is, I think there's a lot of people in the running community that would be very interested in hunting, but it's like two parallel worlds, that they love being out in the outdoors. That's number one. They love being outdoors. They like organic stuff, or to know where their meat comes from, but they're not necessarily aware of everything about hunting. So like, as I've gotten involved with backcountry hunters and anglers, and I meet a lot of these people that are, like you said, just like brand spanking new, have no idea, but they're, hey, I'm at a pint night and I want to meet people that can teach me how to hunt. And it's like, wow, like, where did this come from? But the same thing with running. I'm out doing these trail races, and I run past people, and I'm always wearing some kind of hunting shirt. Like, that's just what I do. And, I get questions all the time about it, like, oh, what do you do? Or, I had a Mountain Op shirt on, like, oh, are you former military? I'm like, no, but this is the company that I use their products or whatever. And it's interesting. And I hope to pull some of that over time, to interact more with individuals that I think that community you could pull some over, to get involved in the outdoors, because they already have that passion there for it, but they maybe just don't understand it, or haven't met that person that lives the same lifestyle as they do. They just go and do that for 3 months out of the year in the fall.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, people don't understand, like, it's really hard to get into hunting. Like, it's, for us, like, I've been hunting since I was 7. So like, woodsmanship's kind of like second nature to me. And so that's the biggest learning curve. It's easy to learn to shoot a weapon and be, lethal with it, but like, actually putting yourself in the right positioning, understanding, terrain, and, just general woodsmanship takes years. And, I don't think anybody masters it, but, I think there's a good transition from those people, myself, especially trail runners. I do, trail running is my favorite thing to do. Like you said, it's so easy. I can just grab a pair of shoes, and I have trails, right. Even though I live in downtown Asheville now, I still have Mountain to Sea Trail that's 4 miles, and I can go hundreds of miles on that if I wanted to. But yeah, I've been up there. I've ran up in your neck of the woods some, and up in the White Mountains, up in New Hampshire, and
nice.
Vermont, and even up in Maine. That's the beauty, though. You can go on a trip and just throw a pair of shoes and shorts and water bottle, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's fun. You said you've done ultras. You've done ultra trail runs.
Yeah, I used to race. Like 50 miler was my apex as far as races go. I never did 100. I've done some fast packs that were over 100, but racing wise, I've never went over 50. And nowadays, I don't race anymore. You got to be a little too crowded, and it just really got expensive. Like, they wanted so much, and there's like a lottery system. When I first started, I was racing road bikes and was ultra running in the off season, just for all season workouts. And most of the people that were involved in the ultra running, trail running series back then were just people doing the same thing. They were triathletes or other things, and they never really took it serious. Just we'd go out there and drink beer and camp and race. And now it's like, you got to put in a year in advance to go do a race. And so what I do now is, like, I pick a good target run I want to do every year, like a point to point or something. And I just do it with myself or a couple buddies and just knock that off. Or there's a group in town here that does a lot of the races the day after, like underground. And
that's cool.
That's kind of fun. Yeah. It's a smaller group of people.
That's awesome. It's been a screwed up spring because we were supposed to. There's a trail run that we do here that this would have been the 21st year of it, and it's like one of those races. I'm sure you do them where it's such a great tradition. You know,
Yeah.
it's a nasty hard race. It's in end of April. It's either a mud hole or there's still snow and it's cold and raining. Like it's just a kick ass race, and they had to delay it because of all the virus and everything. So.
Yeah.
You know, that's pushed back to September now. So that'll be interesting, you know, running that then. But, you know, I don't know. You make the point about it getting expensive and it almost takes kind of the fun out of it. I ran my only marathon. I did a trail marathon. It was the Saga Honda Trail Marathon, which is in Letchworth State Park up here. And it's a pretty awesome race. I mean, it was hard. It was a mud hole that day. But I think it was in 2018 I ran that. And that thing was like 65 or $70, which I can stomach that for a race. You get a sweet hoodie, you know, it's not bad. But now it's like $170 for that race. And it's like in 2 years. And I get it. There's a lot of logistics that goes into it. You got all the stuff at all the aid stations and everything. I get it. But it's like, I'm not going to pay $170 to go do that. Like there's other, you know, I could find something else to do it and not spend that kind of money, you know?
Yeah. You can just go take a trip and go do a trail you've never done, you know, and see some new country.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. If you've never been over in the White Mountains, that's a good place to go run, man. If you've never been over there.
No, I never have. Heard about them, but I never been over there.
Yeah. It's rough. It can be rough over there, you know, especially around Mount Washington.
Christ, I could sit and talk to you all night. So just in closing, let's chat about, just wrap it up about your product. You know, it's made in USA. You know, what's your warranty look like on it? You got a pretty solid warranty on it, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we do 3 years on the products, which is kind of translates over to what most things like, you know, my background's in industrial safety stuff. So for fall protection, you know, you have 3 to 5 years, but you know, we do that on our sticks, and same thing will translate over and everything else. I mean, you know, all of our products have been third party tested, which is important to us. It's not really a common thing because to me, it really baffles me, but you know, in the hunting industry, it's voluntary to have your products third party tested. So, you know, all the big brands do it, but you know, a lot of people don't. And, you know, for me, with my background, that was, you know, definitely a top priority was offering safe stuff. So everything we do is third party tests, and everything we continue to make, you know, what we call that, you know, out at height products will always be third party tested. You know, currently we're out about 4 weeks on production for this first run, but you know, we have blanket orders in place with manufacturers to, you know, keep everything rolling. That way we'll be able to hopefully be shipping on time throughout hunting season. I mean, obviously as a small company, it's hard to keep up with forecasting. You don't know what kind of spikes you're going to get, but our goal is to be as on time as possible, but also just delivering good customer service. I mean, anybody that messages us, it's rarely over an hour unless you hit me up about 9 o'clock at night, because I'm usually in bed by 9.
Right. Yeah, I'm past your bedtime right now. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you're good. I can stay up and party one night a week.
Yeah. Then you got to pay for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, besides that, you know, I mean, we've got some other hunting products coming out soon. We almost finished, or we're getting dialed in on we have a camera arm coming out, and a lock-on tree stand, and then we'll do some more stuff, you know, with the, you know, mobile hunting stuff. And then we have a lot of swag about to hit that's been delayed because of COVID.
Yeah.
But
Feel
we ran
that.
out of hats and shirts.
Yeah, we got our stuff coming in next week. I just heard today. I've been chomping at the bit, but same thing. I placed the order right when all the shit was hitting the fan. Didn't realize it was going to throw it off, but is what it is.
Yeah, what got us, we did a run on limited edition, like turkey hunting stuff for everything we sold, shirt and hats. We do $1 back to NWTF. And we just did this, placed this other order about a month ago. And it's crazy. Like this time we're doing leather patches with our logo and, you know, our hats. So the hats are fine. Takes a minute for leather patches to be made. That's like 3 weeks. But the problem is the facility that sews them still isn't back to work yet. So that's like been the big dilemma.
Yeah.
But they should still be ready here in another week or so.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing that's apparel can just be the biggest pain in the ass. Like, it's not an easy thing. And I've heard that. Like, I know you were on with Bo last week or 2 weeks ago. His podcast came out with you, and when I met him last year, he was saying to us, he's like, dude, he goes, apparel is a freaking nightmare, because if you don't have it, you can't sell it. But if you have it, it's an inventory, you're paying for it. So it's a pain in the ass. But
he has like 50 items.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I keep telling him he had that mustache for too long, and then he got himself a girl, and next thing you know, there'll be wedding bells and babies running around, and it's like, there's just not enough time, buddy. Be careful.
Yeah, he's a busy dude, man. I like Bo. I get up at like 4:30 in the morning, and he usually texts me about 6 o'clock when I usually get texts from him. And he's a disciplined guy. I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah, I think, and that's what's fun. I think, sounds like I see, the brands you're using, the things you listen to a lot of the same people, and there's discipline is good, and it helps you. I think you can't, like you said, you're involved with, you have 3 different jobs essentially, and have all the time to do all your hobbies. I mean, discipline is incredibly important. If you're not up in the morning and don't have a routine, and that's like, I think like running and fitness, like, it's such a huge part. It keeps you accountable to something, because if you don't have that, it's like, I'll sleep till 6:30 this morning, and I won't do nothing till 9, and the days just get away from you.
Man, I'd go nuts. I mean, I've always been a very semi-disciplined person. I became more disciplined as I've gotten older. But you hear people like Jocko talk about it, discipline equals freedom, and it's true. And it's financial freedom if you're disciplined with your money. If you discipline your time, you have more time to do things, because we all have the same amount of time. It's just how we utilize them. And I'd rather go to bed at night at 9, because nothing good happens after 9 anyway.
Yeah, that's what my mom says.
Yeah, and I can get up and at 4:30, I usually get in 2 workouts a day, and and like people are like, I don't see how you have time to work out. It's like, well, I get up at 4:30, I'll either run or I do a weight workout, and then I go at lunch, and just to give myself time to it's how I like kick it neutral, and I'll do a workout, or I go when it's not COVID, I also train jiu-jitsu, and
nice.
I usually hit a jiu-jitsu class either in the morning or at lunch. So and then you break out your day, and man, it's not that hard to do multiple things if you're motivated.
Yeah, it's not. I'll guarantee you since Jocko started his podcast, and people started figuring out his books, I'll guarantee you that there's a shitload of people that get up at 4:30 in the morning now because of that man and him posting his pictures on Instagram.
It's like everything else, though. It's easy to see it, but actually walk the walk is tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's like people sell workouts that are 30-day workouts to a 6-pack, but it's not the case. It takes years of discipline, like diet and workout regimen to get a 6-pack. To be a good archer, you have to go shoot your bow every day. Like, to be a good runner, you got to run. And people always get asked, like, and I wrote in this latest blog I wrote, it's like, essentially, if you want to get better at hiking in the mountains, you go hike in the mountains. It's like, I tell my son that about like pull-ups, and Jocko says that it's like, if you want to get better at pull-ups, start doing pull-ups. So you just gotta do what you want to be good at, and do it consistently, and have a plan.
100%. I'm so ready to get back to work, because I've been out of work since March 20th.
Oh, man.
And I'm my schedule's all jacked up, and then we had our baby on May 8th. So like, my sleep schedule's jacked up. I'm not getting up in the morning to do my thing. So I'm starting back full time on Monday, and I'm fired up for it, because I can get back into a routine,
Yeah, that's me. Like, my day job is we're in safety and industrial sales, and we haven't been. Customers don't want to see anybody, and a lot of the plants that they sell to, we sell to the distributors. They're not letting people come in, so we've been at home, working from home, like being inside salespeople, and outside salespeople, that doesn't go very well. Like I like being out on the road some, and
Is that what you are? You're essentially an outside salesperson.
I own a sales agency, so I do cover a territory myself, but I'm in the office a little more, or I travel with my reps. But yeah, I travel a fair amount, about 2 weeks a month.
Yeah,
I travel.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm a traveling salesperson. I'm home every night, but I'm driving 1,000+ miles a week,
Right.
and having that not happen, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you just talk about changing a routine. Like Jesus,
Oh man.
I'm so excited to, even though I can't go see my customers,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna get up and go somewhere just to
Yeah.
get out of the house and
Get away
do
from this
something.
baby. Yeah. Love your
Yeah.
kids, but I get
You
it, man.
said it. You said it. I didn't say
Yeah.
it, hon. I'm sorry.
Well, I had this plan of doing a road tour for for Timber Ninja, which I can incorporate that with my day job too. I travel the whole Southeast, and a lot of our customers from there and up your way. And we had this road tour planned, and that got kicked. But I think it's going to open back up. I'm actually going to be heading up y'all's way. I'll be going to Pennsylvania and then up to DC and then Pennsylvania soon in
Nice.
July. I'm planning on doing that.
Where are you headed in PA?
I was told Bo I was going to come see him, and I'm going to stop and see Jason with Tough Head Broadheads. I come to that area. I was going to stop by and see his facility and catch up with him. Then I was going to go DC and hang out with Taylor
Nice.
Chambers a little bit. But while I'm up there, we have a lot of people that follow us and from up in PA region and stuff. So just kind of set up some type of get together, a couple breweries or something, show products, just meet people.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, if you do something like that and you're up, I know the area Bo lives, so it's not far from us. It's an hour and 45-minute, 2-hour drive, so it's not bad.
Yeah, I'm planning on that in July. That's the goal.
Nice. Yeah, to see what happens, and definitely stay in touch with you. I'm gonna check out the product, and once I didn't want to pull the trigger on any big purchases until I knew I was going to have a job. So now that I know I'm going back to work,
man. I feel for people, man. Like I've been fortunate. I sell respirators, so that really helped us. Yeah, but everything else, man. Like, it's a tough time for people right now. Definitely, my heart's with a lot of folks.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully, America will get itself back together, and we'll keep America great.
Yeah. I think people. Yeah, we need a lot of discipline in people these days and respect. That would help us out a lot, man.
100%. Yeah, it's a tough time right now, and I know, I don't know about you, but I've been in a funk the last week and a half, as I feel probably most of this country's been. You just having a hard time looking at all this and seeing it all, and it's just everything about it's wrong, and everybody knows it is, but you just don't know what to do, and there's no guidance as to what you can do right now. So it's just like stay at home, and
everybody thinks you can pull a plug and something can stop, and a lot of these issues that we run into are a lot deeper than what people think they are. And, it takes time to work that kind of stuff out. And, in my opinion, like some of the stuff we deal with is respect. And, if you really want to make a change, you need to start making the change with what's around you in your community and with your kids, because it's hard to fix the past, but the only thing we can fix is the future.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got to set better examples. And I try to do well for my son, and, we all fail at something, and, you just got to get better. But it really, that's where it's got to start, in my opinion.
100%.
I mean, I live 4 blocks from downtown, and we've been on a curfew here.
Oh, so has there been some protests and riots and stuff?
Yeah, the first night it got pretty nasty, but the last few nights it's been pretty good. They still have everybody on a curfew. But yeah, it's just sad, man, because all these other influences that come in that try to take something that's really peaceful and turn it into something super negative, and it causes, with media, it just they pull what pays the bills,
Yeah, that's the one thing, and it's been interesting because my wife and I, we don't necessarily see eye to eye on politics and stuff like that, but this has given us an opportunity where we both have been talking a lot about it, and it's become very apparent that media is the problem, and media is driving what they want you to see, and it's just it all goes back to, we're in a culture where everybody wants to just throw money at something, or what can I do right now? I need to help. I need to be part of the solution. It's like,
Yeah.
we don't have a solution right now. And I, it's hit us where it's like, I want to help, but I don't know how to help right now. And I'm looking for someone or something, or to give us, what is it? I don't want to just say, I'm going to throw dollars at this program and then I'll feel good about it. And then I'll just move on and I'll never do anything again. It's like, no, you need to, it's so much bigger than all of that. And I think, where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
It's just, and it almost goes back to the conservation conversation too. It's
correct.
Like, it's all related.
Yeah. At the end of the day, somebody's got to get their hands dirty and do some work. And people just need to stop and take a breath, man, and really analyze the situation. I mean, it's like rock climbing. You can't like power through everything without focusing and breathing and looking at what the risk and what your circumstances are. You got to really dial it in and be focused, and that's the only way you can fix any problem, is to really step back and look at it for a second and then really evaluate. And right now we just have so much wildness going on. We need to get that settled before we can really fix the problem.
Yeah, everything's emotional right now. It's just so explosive, and it's you can't. The last day and a half, I've tuned off of watching the stuff. I mean, I was listening to Scanner Radio, and I was just like, I was all in like this vortex of it, or this tornado of it, and it just was like consuming me, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And it's like, you gotta pull your emotions out and back away a little bit and try to digest it and figure out like what all is going on here. Like, you're seeing these things, and there's appears to be bricks being planted in places to encourage people to do stuff. It's like, what in the freaking hell is going on? These people are blaming these people, and it's just like,
people have too much time on their hands, man.
If you were working or taking care of your family, you don't have time to do that.
Or working out, man. It's just like letting go of, if you go out and do a trail, I mean, you run. So when I'm feeling real tense, if I go out and run, it really clears my head and makes me, relax. Same thing with like, when I got involved with jiu-jitsu, like I used to have really bad road rage, which is, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, but when you get to go out and train and, and get in like a grappling match with people, a few days a week, it really calms your emotions, and you also get humbled. I think more people need to do things to really challenge themselves, and they wouldn't have all this pent up energy to make them so angry.
Do hard things, right? I mean, it teaches you a lot about yourself, and that's doing any of this stuff, whether it is going on a backpack hunt, that's like the ultimate learn something about yourself, or if it's, doing a 5K trail run or a 5K run that you've never done before, committing to something and doing it, it teaches you so much about yourself. And all those times you want to quit, and you're like, no, I committed to this, I have to do it, and you might quit the first time, but then you're going to have that burning desire to get back out there and do it again.
If people just get a big dose of humble pie a few times a week, they'll live a pretty fruitful and happy life, in my opinion.
Amen to that. I think that's a good spot to wrap her up. So I really appreciate your time. It's been great chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit, and wish you the best with everything with the company. And if you want to give everybody a rundown of where they can find you and get more information on you guys.
We're on all social media channels, Timber Ninja Outdoors on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, and our website's www.timberninjaoutdoors.com. And just follow along. I mean, we also produce a lot of, or producing more like how-to stuff and gear reviews and educational stuff. Like, we're big into that, just trying to get back and help people as much as we can. But if anybody has any questions, my personal cell's on our stuff, give us a shout. And like I said earlier, we respond usually within a few hours on any questions. So we appreciate you having us on, man. And anytime, hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. I appreciate it.
If I get up that way, we'll do a trail run or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
Roger that. Well, man, have a good night and have fun with the kid.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
All right. Talk to you soon.
See you, buddy. Take it easy.
Later.